Hello, hello. Welcome to the weekly reading. My little lighthouse stone drawn for me by my daughter felt appropriate for the solar eclipse in Libra week, which happens on the Libra new moon on Saturday. However, this is a big week for more than just the eclipse. We have Venus finally today, in fact, moving out of Leo, where she spent a good long chunk of time, much longer than she usually does due to the retrograde. So she's moving into Virgo today, where she can get a little nitpicky, but she's going to have the opportunity, I feel, that her journey through Virgo is going to give us a chance to kind of really drill down and sort through what went on for us during that retrograde. So even though this is not Venus's favorite place to be, I feel like it's a necessary debrief for us from that big Leo-Venus retrograde. I've also got some moonstone there in that necklace. I've got elevation because I feel like this is a state of elevation happening for us, a lifting up of our energy and our vibration, should we not resist. But then as we elevate, we need to remember to stay embodied and on earth, because that is part of our journey here in this form. So patchouli is very grounding, and I've given this beautiful honey calcite sphere in honor also of the moon, who is having her first Libra eclipse in some time. It is a south node eclipse, which really means that we are looking at things within relationships, Libra, that we are ready to let go of and move away from in its simplest form. Where that is happening in your own personal chart is also really pertinent. If you want a little more help and support on that, please remember I'm available for consultations. Also got some selenite here, which is a lot of crystals this week. Needed a lot of energy support. Selenite is named after Selene, the goddess of the moon. Okay, let's jump in. Pick a card number between 1 and 4 and let's see. Remember, it's a collective reading. Your number is your primary focus of this week. And it is exceptionally major arcana heavy, which means we are really not in control of fate right now, which is so interesting because when we have eclipse season, the nodes are activated, the nodes of the moon, and the nodes are known as the nodes of fate and destiny, and karma and those sorts of things. So it's very appropriate that we have this big, heavy, major arcana week of this is not something that you can really control. So how do you relax and ride the waves? So we have the death card upside down to start with, and actually, especially because it's followed by the upright star, I feel like it's actually a good thing. And the death card is often a good thing. The death card is very south node. What do I need to let go of? And because it's upside down following the star, I feel it's very much about we're already in a grieving process. So it doesn't feel so much to me like a grieving process is coming. There may be a resistance to letting something go. And if that applies to you, if you feel like, yes, I can tell I'm resisting, I'm not getting there, because the death card can link us quite strongly to the planet Pluto as well. And Pluto's very, very active in the sky right now. He's in the last degrees of a cardinal sign, Capricorn. He's going backwards and forwards between a changeover of sign, which he does not do very often. He will have spent 15 years in the sign of Capricorn when he's done, and he's going to spend 20 years in the next sign. He has an elliptical orbit, so the timings differ. So if Pluto is in a changing sign phase, which takes him a couple of years to vacillate between one and the other, we've already done our first toe dip into Aquarius, and we'll do it again late Jan. But he's really eking out the last of his Capricorn lessons right now. And Pluto himself is about death, rebirth, cycle. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's about a clearing out. Like, some stuff has to die. The wonderful astrologer Pam Gregory always says it's like Pluto energy is like a tree falling down in the forest and slowly decomposing and creating the fertile ground for the other trees to grow in. So death is inevitable, death of processes, death of literal death, all sorts of death processes are happening every day. They are not a bad thing, but they are not always easy for us. And because we're looking at an eclipse in the relational sign of Libra, chances are it's got a lot to do with relationships. There are many different kinds of relationships. So, don't get pigeonholed into just your romantic relationship. It can be many a relationship. But I also feel like there's a very big likelihood you already are experiencing this or have experienced this, and you're in the mourning process of it. But the hope and healing card is the Star, following the last sort of remnants of struggle with releasing something. Well, it could be the last remnants if we let ourselves heal. And I love that saying always, you have to feel to heal. I love it because it rhymes, but also because it is true. The more that we try to resist the emotions that are coming up, the more that we numb them, the more that we race away from them by getting too busy with whatever it is we do or whatever addictive things we can use to stop ourselves from feeling those things. Like if you grab for something sweet when you're feeling bitter, in your emotions, that is not the answer. We need to feel the bitter. And that leads us to the healing, that leads us to the hope, that leads us to the awareness that there is something more. And what's interesting is the Star card links to Aquarius energy, and Pluto is moving. Pluto, death card, Aquarius, the Star card. Pluto is moving his energy into Aquarius. Every sign's going to bring with it some deep stuff. So when Pluto moves in there, best be sure there's going to be deep Aquarian shadow things that we need to look at as well. But at the moment, just feel the pull of the hope and the healing and the shift in yourself and the collective. Because Pluto has a very big collective energy. It's bigger than us. Even though Pluto's the small planet, he's said to make big things small and small things big. So he may be small, but his power is great, and his transformative expressions are huge, even though they are also slow. So sometimes we can't see them in the moment. And that's also important to recognize, that if we look back the last few years, we'll see a huge shift in where we're all headed. And look at that, then take that into your personal life and your personal self. And again, because we're looking at Venus having moved out of the very autonomous sign of Leo into, let me just edit what it is that is me versus we, which is so Libra, Aries, eclipse axis that we're dealing with. And then here we have a fiery card, the only one that is kind of by the token of major arcana being the big picture and out of our control, and minor arcana being something we can do something about. This is the only card that we can do something about, and it's a 2. And 2s are always choice points. We're at a crossroads. And, I feel like we've been at many crossroads in the last while, because there is so much change happening that we keep finding ourselves at these little points where it's like, okay, now I get to choose. Do I do it the way I always did and get the same results I always got? Or do I go that way, the way that I don't know, the way that I've never been? And what's interesting with the nodes, this is a South Node eclipse, which is the way we've always done it, the way we know, our old karma. And what of that needs to be let go of so that we can move to our North Node energy of the way we don't know, the new space to cultivate. And in 2 weeks from this eclipse, we will have a North Node eclipse. It will be in Taurus, the very last Taurus eclipse, and we'll focus more in on that as we get there. But we are very much in this crossroads. It's showing up in multiple spaces. And it's like, what is the journey forward? I mean, look at her gazing out of the window from the safe space that she knows to the unknown adventure that she is pretty much ready to let herself go on, but she just has to trust her gut, which brings us into the Moon card, which is definitely a strong collective unconscious card, because the moon is the darkness, the moon is the night, the moon is our what is so deeply sometimes buried beneath the surface that we don't even know how we know. It's what comes out in our dream times. It's when we become very instinctual and intuitive, but we can't understand, like the reaction you may have to someone or something. And if we bring this back to the way we've always done things, to the way we're moving towards doing things, look at situations in your various relationships where you would always react in a certain way to a certain thing, and now suddenly it just isn't fitting. And you keep wanting to default back to what you did, but it feels so uncomfortable, like you cannot carry on that way, even though it's what you want. That is the moon's unconscious wisdom starting to bubble to the surface. And I mean, it's not lost on me that we have the moon card in a week where we have an eclipse of the moon. And it's a new moon phase. New moon is plant your intentions. I'm about to record a forecast for this particular new moon. So if you have strong Libra or strong cardinal signs, or you want to know where that is in your chart by looking at the degrees, etc., then you can watch that forecast and get a bit of a better idea of the full moon, the new moon eclipse in more detail than I'm going into it here. I think I might have neglected to say Mars is also moving sign this week, which he is. He's moving into Libra, and that is also going to bring with it some very interesting dynamics. He's going to have to change the way. So we're just doubling down on Libra energy. That's what we're doing. We're doubling down on that Libra energy. I'm wrong, because he has been in Libra. We've been really eking out the Libra. He goes ahead of the moon. I apologize. He's moving into Scorpio. But on his way out, he's going to have a very strong, he's already last week had a very strong connection to Pluto. So he's been pulling this Libra energy through, and he has led the charge before the moon and sun actually get to that space. And in Scorpio, he's going into a very strong position of deep dive and warriordom and a real kind of deadly focus of excavating what is it in my relationships that, because Scorpio has a very Platonic energy and a very Martian energy, what is it in my relationships that I'm not being well resourced. Think about it that way. I'm not being well resourced by these relationships anymore, and I am not resourcing the other. Because it works both ways. It's easy for us to stand on our own soapbox and say, this person in my business partnership, or this child, or this lover, or this brother, or whatever it is no longer giving back to me in the way that I need and resourcing me with the right amount of love and support and whatever. But have you turned it around and said, and how am I giving back to this person? How am I resourcing them with love and support and whatever the case may be? So it is also important because the Libra Aries axis, where the eclipses are and where we're experiencing huge karmic dharmic transformation, are saying, think about me and also think about us, and think about my actions and think about their actions, and think about how I'm being impacted and think about how I'm impacting. So these are the places we're meant to be getting a little uncomfortable right now and peeling back the layers. So I hope this has been helpful. Remember to look me up if you want some private support, and I would very much appreciate any likes, shares, subscribes, etc. Have a beautiful week, and I wish you love and luck on this busy and changing direction, this crossroads of a week.